Okay, and we should be live. I think we're live. I hope we're live. We will find out very quickly. Okay, cool. We're live. So, welcome to TKB Live episode number 45. And this is very much the end of an era episode. We have reached the end of Master Rule 4. And we're just going to be discussing kind of what that means for the game in general today. There's actually quite a bit of interesting news that I think is worth looking at. So we will wait to see if people start joining to watch this. And then once we have a couple of people, we'll start going through the recent changes. I mean, there is the obvious change of the Forbidden Unlimited list. Additionally, if there's any issues with the audio, just let me know, because it is a different setup to normal. The nice thing with this is that daylight savings time has actually happened here now, so we are back on track with places in the world that did daylight savings time before us, so that is good to see. I've just now received my notification saying that we're live, so we will see if that starts going out to other people. But yeah, so hello everybody, welcome to TKB Live. Hey Prince Murloc, it was really nice meeting you at Utrecht. Hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe amongst all of this that's going on. But yeah, we have a lot to talk about today, guys. It is March 30th, which means we have 2 days left until everything changes. So, I mean, first off, let's take a look at the Forbidden Unlimited list. Honestly, like, just given the current circumstances, I have not been paying too much attention to Yu-Gi-Oh! Because can't go to locals. But, I mean, this list seems kind of important. I mean, first off, Crystron Needle Fiber, as it used to be called, the Crystron Link Monster, is after being released in the most recent set. Now, obviously, we haven't had any large events for that actually to see play because of the coronavirus. But, you know, we have a list, which means that once we do get to play it at large events, it will be less scary. So we have Blackwing, Steam, the Cloak, Forbidden. I don't think anybody expected Steam to live very long. Like, the card is just very silly, even by itself, and then being able to summon it from the deck makes the card pretty absurd. So yeah, Steam, major hit to Blackwings, guys. The deck is busted, but clearly, yeah, clearly it's something that deserved to go. Destrudo is gone, which is kind of weird. It's a hit to some of the Dragon decks, I guess. It's also just one of the easiest free summon generic tuners. So I guess that seems pretty fair. Like, again, Destrudo is a card that has seen play just forever and ever since it came out. So I don't think it's unreasonable to ban it. And again, there seems to be key hits against things not only for the Crystron Link, but also for Synchro summoning in general. As we do know that Synchro is very similar to Link's in terms of how easy it is to go crazy with it. Yeah, and like Prince Murloc says here, the Blackwing Steamed Cloak is a problem card just like Glow Up Bulb, which again, both of those cards represent a level 1 tuner that generates an additional card. So, that's... I like to move away from generic cards that just give you more monsters, and we'll see more of this as we go through the list. Lunalight Tiger, gone, finally. Thank goodness. Lunalight, just as a deck, it had its first YCS, well, it had its only YCS win in February of last year. And just Tiger is insane. Between Tiger and the Kaleido chick, the deck just had infinite monsters, basically. So this seems like a good way to rein in Lunalight. I don't know if the rest of the Lunalight cards are good enough for something like Lunalight Time Thief to still be a deck, because I do think it was very focused on a Lunalight Tiger. So we'll have to see if somebody can figure out a way to abuse the deck without it, but I would be surprised if they could. Spiral Master Plan, gone. That's good as well. I mean, Lunalight Tiger is effectively an Xyz deck hit, and Spiral Master Plan is as well. Spiral definitely is one of the more Wombo-y combo-y link decks, but it's Spiral Master Plan going should have happened a long time ago, probably. We have our limited cards. We have Danger Jackalope and Danger Tsuchinoko joining Nessie, both limited. Again, with the idea of cards that just generically summon. It's good to see these cards on the list. Again, it's kind of reducing the impact of links on the game in general to an extent. And also, these are cards that would go into any rank 3 deck. So it reduces the ability of rank 3 decks to just go crazy looking at you, Burning Abyss. We see AVC Dragon Buster limited alongside Trishula, Hyper Librarian, and Totally Awesome. I mean, these were kind of standout abuse cases for the new Master Rule. Dragon Buster in particular, I mean, we know that if you could end on 2 to 3 Dragon Busters early in the game, that basically is going to end the game. Totally Awesome is similar. Trishula, I mean, ever since we got the Master Rule revision, I think I've been talking about how terrified I am of being trished many, many times in a single turn. So I can sleep kind of soundly at night knowing that Trish is not going to haunt me this format. Zodiac Trident, on the other hand, this is interesting. This has gone to 1. So people had been predicting this because of the OCG list. So, it's not the biggest surprise, but it's also Zodiac, just is very powerful. This does suggest another reason why Tiger was banned, because being able to play a Lunalight Zoo, you'd be able to summon a Trident and pop your Tiger, and then you get a summon as well as getting material engraved, so you can summon your Chakanine and summon back a monster. So, that seems reasonable to me. We have Instant Fusion limited, fantastic. Mind Control limited as well. These are 2 really big hits to the Mech Knight Invoked decks, which is kind of interesting, because I think Mech Knight Invoked has done... Mech Knight Invoked is a deck that has been really good when it's good, and it just has slipped below the radar forever. I don't think there's been a single hit directly to that deck, but it's just like a solid deck. But it's also really scary, so I'm glad that it's slightly less scary. I mean, Instant Fusion, always gave them an answer to most monsters on board, and Mind Control as well. Both of those cards essentially just were Soul Takers that gave them a material for link climbing. And then additionally, they could set them to summon Mech Knights. So yeah, pretty silly cards. Not terribly sad to see either of those hit. I'm going to be super tilted when people go like summon Pankratops, Mind Control me now, because single Pankratops already was tilting me. Zodiac Barrage to 1. That's nice to see. The card is kind of strong, and clearly they want to rein in Trident a little bit. So yeah, I mean that's completely reasonable. Then on the list we have Destiny Hero Malicious back to 2. Thank goodness. I was so frustrated that Malicious was at 3. I think the card again, in the same way that we see Glow Up Bulb and the Dangers going onto the list, Malicious acts similarly, where it's a card that generates additional cards. And you know, it's a monster card that generates additional monster cards that only get used for strategies that just want to climb big. And I don't find that very engaging. So I think Malicious to 1. Good job. Sky Striker Mecha Widow Anchor to 2. Oh boy. We've been tearing. Myself and Doug on the team have discussed Sky Striker at length. We think there's possibly something there. You know, the deck doesn't change very much with the new Master Rule, and Widow Anchor at 2 is actually major for the deck because it means that it has a lot more reach. So we'll have to see if it actually does anything. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, but I do like Widow Anchoring stuff, so that's nice to see. And without Engage, it's not as scary of a card. Then finally, we have a couple of cards no longer on the list. Deep Sea Diva is no longer on the list, which is kind of spooky because that card does a lot of stuff. I mean, it's probably fine that it's come off, but yeah, it's a card to watch out for. It's a good normal summon. Necroface to 3. I don't think this is going to do anything. That card probably could have come off a long time ago. Then we have Spiral Gear Drone to 3. I mean, Master Plan is dead, so Drone is a lot worse. But at the same time, Drone's on summon effect is really strong, so we'll have to see if somebody can figure out a way to break it, because there was a lot of fun Spiral stuff abusing Quick Fix back in the day, and being able to search multiple drones off it means that the Quick Fix is summoning itself for free longer. And then finally we have Pot of Avarice to 3, and Pot of Avarice did nothing at 1, and it will do nothing at 3. You can quote me back to this if it actually does anything and say, no, Daniel, you're incorrect. Yeah, limiting Barrage, Prince Murloc definitely limits Zodiac into being a pure deck. It also removes, so like, which diagram now at 1, Barrage was definitely one of the generic cards that let you destroy cards. That was most enticing to play, especially when it gives you a free Trident, which is already really good. So it seems reasonable to get rid of. But yeah, that's the general gist of the Master Rule update, or with the Forbidden Limited list. Now, obviously, this list goes into effect at the exact same time as Master Rule 5. So we're going to really have to see how Master Rule 5 starts to pan out. Now, we do have the issue that, of course, large events aren't currently happening because of the global pandemic. So it's kind of... This is probably the most unusual time to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now because, you know, we don't have anywhere to properly play Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is something that we're going to talk about a little bit further in the episode, because I do think it's important that we have good ways to play the game. But yeah, so I'm interested to see how the format's actually going to develop over the coming weeks as we don't have large events. Is it going to be affected by people playing online, or is it just going to stagnate? It really depends how much people are motivated by YCSs and regionals to actually be progressing the game. You know, it could be that we get to Euros and US Nats and just nobody's progressed the format, but I'd be very surprised if that was the case. But at the same time, really important, if you are going to be buying cards at the moment, make sure to check if your local game store has any option to buy online from them, because supporting local game stores right now is really important, you know. So that's, you know, it's something to be mindful of. It's important that when all of this is over, that the local game stores are there for us to go back to. after that, there's something that I'd like to talk about that I think is interesting, and I couldn't actually find a reference for this for the stream. But in the OCG, they're after making an announcement, from what I'm aware, that they're going to start doing rulings in the style that the US has been. So again, I'm trying to find something that kind of confirms that this is correct. But basically, in the US, if a card leaves the zone that it would activate in before the activation occurs, then it can no longer activate. So an example of this is if I activate enemy controller and I tribute Sangan for cost, and then you chain DD Crow, banishing my Sangan, I would no longer be able to activate my Sangan because it's no longer in the same location as it was. So if that is the case, and if it does apply to Japan and to the OCG rulings of the game, then presumably it's something that would also come across to the European events. So that's something to be aware of, as it would be quite a large change. There are only certain formats where that is relevant, but you know, when it is relevant, it's an incredibly relevant effect. Makes DD Crow a lot better, makes Called by the Grave slightly worse. So we'll have to see whether or not that actually does turn into anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did, because they do seem to be trying to unify the game in one way or another. You can see that just with the way that, you know, the TCG list has been slowly kind of tending towards stuff that the OCG has, such as Trident 1. So we'll need to see if during the coming year we see a kind of a more closely handled game. We don't know yet. Additionally, there is the new Legacy of the Duelist update, which we are going to switch across to on the screen now, if we can get it to work. Ta-da! So, Legacy of the Duelist, this is the Steam version that I have right here. But basically, it's received an update on all platforms. So, on the Switch, if you have it on the Switch, it's a free update. So, that's very nice if you already had the game on Switch. And there's not really any reason not to get the game on Switch, because the promo cards that come with it are basically worth the cost of the game almost. So if you are looking to pick up those promos, you might as well pick up a copy of the game, and then you get a free update which has all of these cards on it. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I have been spending a little bit of time with this. I think we have put about 40 hours into the game so far. So I'm going to be looking to do a slightly more complete review of this at some point later on down the line. But if you're looking for something to just play Yu-Gi-Oh on when you can't get out to locals, this is pretty reasonable. Now, it has a ranked match system. The leaderboards are starting to kind of grow up, which is good, because when it first released earlier in the week, there was absolutely no leaderboard. So the leaderboard is starting to pick up, which is good, which means you're going to find people that are actually playing. Additionally, there's a single player campaign, which lets you play through a bunch of story duels for all of the different series up to Vrains. And yeah, like, there are issues with the game for a competitive player in terms of you need to buy all of these packs to get all of the cards. But on the plus side, every card is unlockable. So, you know, it's something that I'm still taking a look at. But the idea of being able to test everything in the game on an official platform is a really nice idea. So I'm hoping that we can take a look at it. Yeah, Prince Murloc, it's unfortunate that there's no option to update the Legacy of the Duelist, because yeah, it's kind of odd that you just have to buy the game outright. That's something that I would love to see them provide some way that you can just update to the current version, but apparently it's not something that's happening anytime soon. So we'll need to take a look at it. Yeah. Basically, with Legacy of the Duelist, we're looking into ways to use it for a platform for doing tournaments. And when I say we, I mean myself and some friends that are involved with staffing events sometimes. So it's been quite a while since Yu-Gi-Oh has had a platform that you can run competitive events on. So, if Legacy of the Duelist is able to run events, it has a weird ban list because, from what I'm aware, it is in both markets. So it's in both the OCG and the TCG. So it has content for both. So I think everything is basically what a World's ban list would look like, with the most I forget what I was going to say. Yeah, it has a weird Worlds sort of ban list from what I can see, which is kind of bizarre because when the Forbidden Unlimited list was dropped earlier this week, I assumed that it was because this would have the updated version of the list. But if we actually go to the deck editor here, just pick a random deck, and we sort by Forbidden Unlimited, we can see that Jackalope and Tsuchinoko are both at 2, which means that it's still just taking the previous TCG list. The way we can tell that it is using OCG as well is we can see Mystic Mine is at 1. I don't think Blaze Phoenix is at 1 in the TCG, so I think that's another one. So it's kind of weird. But again, if we're all going to be stuck inside all the time, then if we can manage to get tournaments set up using this software, then it could be quite interesting. But we'll need to see how that goes. I mean, on the plus side, a nice thing with this is they still have the battle pack play. And additionally, I think if you have friends that are looking to get into the TCG, this is actually not a bad game to direct them towards. I played through all of the Vrain's storyline, and you actually end up playing a lot of different kind of relevant decks. There's Invoked, there's Shaddoll, there's Dragoonity. So that's pretty interesting that they kind of have so many different options in it. It's nice to see. On PC, you can just edit the save file to have all the coins. I was not aware of that. I was actually looking into kind of how the save file system worked. But yeah, I mean, if people can actually just pick up the game and edit it in so that they have infinite coins and can just buy all of the cards, then it actually makes it a really good official platform, because it is an official platform where you have access to all of the cards. It does still struggle from the fact that it effectively has its own format because it has its weird list. So that's kind of bizarre that there's no option to choose from multiple lists. Another kind of issue with the game that is kind of a bit of a pity is that you can't play cross-platform. So if you were to run a tournament using it, it would have to either be a Steam tournament or it would have to be a Switch tournament. You wouldn't be able to do cross competition, from what I can tell. If somebody knows otherwise, let me know and I'll take a look at it. But yeah, so that's the general gist of things at the moment. I think honestly it's a case of the game is in a weird point at the moment, as all trading card games are, because trading card games rely so heavily on the actual human-to-human interaction. So, you know, I think a lot of players, they're like, oh, well, if I'm not going out to locals, then I'm not going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I get that. I think a lot of the team are taking a bit of a breather while we're kind of Lunalight is at full power, by the way. Emmanuel, would you like to expand on that? Because I would have thought that hitting Lunalight Tiger was a pretty big hit to the deck, but again, I'm not super familiar with it, particularly not when it can actually start using its fusions and stuff like that. So if you have any links or sources, or just can generally explain in the chat, would be very interested to hear. But yeah, so because so many people are going to be taking a step away just from card games in general, it'll be interesting to see. Oh, Tiger is not banned on Link Evolution. Oh, oh, yikes. Oh, no, that's not good. Yeah, I'm wondering, are they going to update the Forbidden Unlimited list for this? Because I know the original version of Legacy of the Duelist, they released it and it had everything. And then, of course, because it's trading cards, it very quickly kind of fell out of date. Which won't happen for the European version of this, because in case people haven't heard, our understanding is that production of cards, well, I don't know if it's production or distribution, but basically sets are on hold until the pandemic calms down. So, yeah, it could be that we're not getting new sets for quite a while, which will also really disrupt the market, because if we can't get European cards, then people are just going to import their American cards. So it's kind of, we had an issue with it in the past with one of the Duelist packs, I think. It was the one that had anti-magic arrows and Jurigado in it, where the US got it months in advance of us. So by the time it came out here, the cards weren't very relevant, and also there was no value in the set because people had already picked up American copies of the cards. Huh. Yeah, so Lunalight just gets to do absurdly silly things in Legacy of the Duelist. Again, maybe in 2 days' time, Legacy of the Duelist will be updated with the TCG list. It'd be really awesome if it did. Again, I think there's a lot of good things about the game, so it would be great if it gets that update. Additionally, again, I think it's important that we kind of keep our eyes out and see if there is any way to run online events. I know Magic the Gathering is running full Magic Fests, which would be the equivalent of YCSs online, or I'm not sure if they're Magic Fests or if they're Magic Fest qualifiers, but regardless, they have kind of a proper online tournament system set up. So it's pretty sure it's run through Discord with Magic Arena as the platform, or Magic Online. But that's pretty interesting, and I'm sure that we're going to see a lot more of those. Yeah, we're going to see a lot more tournaments like those pop up, and hopefully we'll see them for Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. But again, depends how long this situation lasts in general. Prince Murloc, you just want Konami to do another ban list if the pandemic continues longer. Yeah, I mean, I assume that you don't want. I mean, yeah. I mean, we can't really get a list until there's actual events to show that certain cards are doing stuff, right? So I'd be surprised if we get another list anytime soon. I'd be more surprised if we got a list within the next 3 months and it affected anything that was hit or changed on this list. A nice thing with the list is there's a lot of semi-limited cards that are gone. So semi-limited is now only very few cards tour guide will probably go to tree at some point soon, because I don't think there's a major difference between one tour guide and tree tour guides. I guess there's like, you see it 5% more often with tree copies or something like that, but I don't think that's super major. Konami should just buy Dueling Book or something. I mean, that's an interesting idea. The thing is that in the past, Konami has had an official Yu-Gi-Oh! Simulator, so it's just odd that they don't currently. And again, I guess there's a lot of overhead to running an online game, but yeah, it's bizarre. I don't think buying Dueling Book would be the solution. With a certain amount of work, like Sea of the Duelist could very much be a solution, but it would be really nice from a competitive player's perspective to have something official that was easily accessible. But like, if you look at any of the successful digital card games, the ones that would pop to mind in my mind would be Hearthstone and Magic the Gathering Arena. And both of those have models where you don't start with all of the cards. You do have to either grind or pay real money to get them. But like Yu-Gi-Oh! Could do that and people would be perfectly happy to play it. Pokemon also has an online TCG simulator. And yeah, in Pokemon packs you get codes that let you get booster packs in that sim. Is that a sim? Like, I don't think it's as successful as Hearthstone or Magic Arena. It's not a simulator that people are going to watch because as a spectator sport, it's not the most interesting. I think this is like slightly more interesting in terms of simulators. Like, so I mean, the nice thing with this is the UI is relatively pretty compared to something like the Pokemon UI. It is weird that you do rock, paper, scissors rather than it just determining. It's very Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, like, we have here, it has sound effects, which are nice. I don't know if the sound effects are playing true, but it's somewhat flashy. And then for certain cards, it will even have full animations. So, I don't know if we have one that we can summon here. What do we even want to grab here? We should have grabbed Cyber's Gadget and sent the Atagnister card. But instead, we will grab Clock Wyvern. So this gets us up to 4 monsters, and I'm pretty sure we'll be able to summon something from our extra deck with that. Yeah, this is really weird. It has like a Balinx in its deck. Yeah, let's see if summoning Fireball Dragon gets us an animation. I always forget that Balancer Lord is an activated effect rather than an unsummon effect. Because it seems like it should be an unsummon effect, right? So many of the other normal summon givers are unsummon effects. Like Elder and the Constellar one and all of those. So, yeah. We'll make a Balinx in our non-Balinx deck. I wonder if he uses Balinx in the anime. Because, I don't know. I have not watched Vrains. If anybody's watched Vrains in the chat, let me know. I haven't actually looked at the animation in the first Legacy of the Duelist. Is there much of a difference? Because, like, is this going to have its animation? There we go. Like, this is relatively pretty animation. I mean, it has an issue that it's not skippable, so that's kind of awkward. But, like, that gets me hyped to summon Borderline Dragon. Gotta be perfectly honest. And now we have built our unbreakable board, and we pass turn to Playmaker, and hope he doesn't kill us. Oh yeah, and this spawns us anytime that we alt-tap. So, that's something. But yeah, so like, I mean, realistically, something that I'd like to do is actually get duels happening online through this, but we'll have to see how the logistics pan out on that. Okay, so apparently, if you summon a Borderlands dragon, Playmaker just can't do anything. He just. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of weird that I played a lot of Stairway of the Destined Duel, and so much of this game has the exact same UI as the old Game Boy games used to have. We got a Rom Claudia. That's kind of nice. You can just link away with all of Playmaker's monsters and make him sad. Ooh, the Blue Eyes White Dragon textures aren't good. That could be the case. I have not looked at the earlier textures. But yeah. I think we have basically run out of stuff to talk about, which is kind of unfortunate. Because, again, it's just a case of, until we have events, it's very hard to discuss the week in Yu-Gi-Oh! I mean, we have a few things. We know that Chaos Emperor Dragon, King of Armageddon, is going to be getting its release in the TCG relatively soon. In terms of, we know Battles of Legend, I think it's called Armageddon, is going to be coming out during the summer. So, I mean, that's exciting. Do we think that we're actually going to get do we think we're going to get actual events before that set comes out? I don't know. Do we have a deck that can actually play it? I'm not sure on that either. What do I think of Zoo as a deck? I think Zoo without Broad Bull is a much, much weaker deck. I don't know if Zoo can stand by itself. Like, the strong thing with Zoo in the format that it was good in. Okay, so I mean, you had the Northern format where Zoo was just absurd and it was just drawing infinite cards. But once you get around to the national season format with Zoo, where you just have like one Rat Pierre and stuff, you know, the deck was good because it was very consistent at ending on relevant interaction. So, like, being able to end on like Trident plus Tornado Dragon, and then you had back row that was relevant. So you had your My Body as Shield, or Enemy Controller, or we get another Rom Claudia. Yeah, Body as a Shield, Enemy Controller, D Barrier, Pianissimo, those sort of stuff. That was part of what made C really strong. And I think at the moment we have a very broad format. So yeah, I think a really strong tier 2. That sounds totally reasonable. Like, I think Zoo has a lot of space to be decent. I'm not convinced that it will be good necessarily. I mean, again, could change, could be different. Does Firewall Dragon have an animation? Yeah, so it could be better than I'm expecting, but I think with the format being very generically open and not having triple barrage and not having Broad Bull, the deck is a lot worse. Set 4 Trap Witch Trident is really, really good. Nope, no Firewall animation. Set Dragon. That's... huh. That's kind of weird that Borreload and Decode Talker both have animations, but Firewall does not. You see, it's not a signature card, of course. You see. But yeah. That is pretty much all of the news that there is to talk about at the moment. We know that Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s is starting soon, so I think that's first airing April 4th. So we're going to start getting a feel for what the new anime is going to be about, and then we'll be able to see from there, you know, what is happening with regards to the game on the OCG front of things. But yeah, what I'm going to do is we're probably going to cut the stream off here early, just as there isn't much to go beyond here at the moment. What I would say is if you guys have ideas for stuff that you would like to see, let me know, because, you know, if you want to see Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff, we'll try our best to do it. And if you want to see non-Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff, I know Tom has been putting a lot of time into Legends of Runeterra, so he has a lot to talk about that game. So we'll find him a time slot. Please don't do an anime with just Rush Duel. I assume that it won't be just Rush Duel, but I assume it will be Rush Duel for the start. Like, it could. They could just do an anime with just Rush Duel, but I'd be very surprised because, you know, they're still going to be making main set packs, and as long as they're going to be making those, you know, the card game, the anime is an advertisement for toys, essentially. So why wouldn't you show off your toys? We will get this one. So it's really weird that, like, AI just doesn't have any relevant Atagnister cards in this. Seems kind of weird. But yeah. I think Legacy of the Duelist is worth checking out if you're just looking for a reason to play Yu-Gi-Oh! If you like the anime as well. It's pretty good. But we'll need to see whether or not it can actually hold its own as a tournament platform. Yeah, I mean, Legacy of the Duelist ladder is definitely something I'd consider doing. Dueling book tournament is not something I'd touch myself, but if some of the other guys on the team are interested, then we'll definitely be looking into it. As for deck building, again, just as we currently don't really have an idea of where we're going with a format, I don't know about it, but it's definitely something we'll look into and see what we can do. Thank you all very much for joining us. Hope you're all staying safe during the current conditions. And yeah, I mean, we will be back with hopefully more Yu-Gi-Oh! Next week. And we'll also try and get some stuff out before then. But you never know. Cool. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a lovely evening or afternoon wherever you are. And we will catch you soon.